Hello there. Welcome once again to Living on Purpose. This is Fola Daniel at Delisi. Today, I want to talk to you about having a critical mindset. What's the difference between a critical mindset and the analytical mindset? The major difference, even though they're quite similar, is that the analytical mindset comes up with logical reasoning and debates based on facts and evidences. The purpose of the analytical mindset is to come up with the details of the issues being discussed. The analytical mindset, as the name implies, analyzes issues, but the critical mindset seems to be more judgmental. And the purpose of the critical mindset is to criticize, just as the name also implies. The critical mindset sometimes does not focus on what the real issues are. The critical mindset sometimes focuses on the personality. While the analytical mindset focuses on the issues, the critical mindset focuses sometimes on the person. And that's why in philosophy, when you're debating or when you're taught how to debate, you're told to focus on logic and not the personality of the person that you're debating with. That's also a general rule of debating in life. When you walk around things as well, you need to have mindset. You need to have a mindset that focuses more on the issue than the person. Yes, there are times when people have personal or character flaws, and you can correct or suggest things to them regarding their personal issues. But when you talk to them, you need to be sure that you are dealing with issues and not their personality. There are times when people attack the personalities of other people for no reason. So if you're constantly attacking the personality of someone rather than attacking the issues and deal with the issues at hand, what you have is a critical mindset. It is different from the analytical mindset. You need to make sure that you work on your critical mindset if all you do is criticize people. The problem with having a critical mindset is that each time people hear you, they can see that you're being judgmental. Each time people hear you, they can see that you are not really talking about the issues. You're focusing much more on their persons, their character, or the things that they represent. If I criticize something, sometimes it could be that I am not interested in that person. It is not that the idea is bad. So someone who has a critical mindset can throw off the baby with the bathwater simply because the person who brought the idea is someone they don't like. In leadership, in politics, in governance, or maybe even in the corporate world, people with critical mindsets will focus more on issues, and so long as something comes from a particular person, they don't ever want to hear it. But if the same thing comes from another person, they will embrace it. When you have the analytical mindset, you focus more on the issue rather than the person. Try as much as possible, if you're a leader or you're even a follower or you're a team member, to make sure that when you're giving feedback not because you are criticizing the person that you're giving feedback to. You are giving feedback because there is something wrong with what they are trying to do, or that there is something they can improve upon. So always ensure that you are not criticizing personality. What do people with critical mindsets do? Of course, I've highlighted a number of them, but the first and the most important thing that they do is to criticize other people, sometimes without any reason. If you criticize someone without any reason and you do it repeatedly, then you have a critical mindset. If you also criticize people without giving them constructive feedback, it also means that you have a critical mindset. Notice there are two different things. The first is that you just criticize anybody and everybody. The second is that you criticize, but you did not give constructive feedback. Here's one thing that you need to understand. It's so easy for everybody to criticize without giving constructive feedback. But everybody who wants other people to grow and become better would always use the constructive feedback approach. How do you do that? First of all, you praise the people for their efforts. You acknowledge the sacrifices they've made. Then you talk about the errors that they have committed, and you go back to praising them or acknowledging their efforts. It's called the sandwich approach. In other words, you don't just talk about their faults, you talk about their good parts, you talk about their efforts, you acknowledge their input, then you point out the errors, you show them how to improve those errors or make them better. Then you come back to talk about how they are doing well and what their efforts have been and how the efforts are likely to yield great results. So you praise, criticize, and praise again. That is the sandwich approach for correcting people or for helping other people to become better. But anyone with a critical mindset will never want to use that. And you need to understand that if you keep going with a critical mindset, it will be difficult for other people to follow you. They will not want to willingly follow you. But if you use the sandwich approach, it is easier for them to follow you. I want to enjoin you today. Try as much as possible to stop being critical of other people unnecessarily. If you want to criticize what other people are doing, make sure that you are doing what is called constructive criticism. The way to do constructive criticism is to praise, appraise the work, and praise their efforts again. Or you can say, praise them for their efforts and input, then criticize the work in a very firm but straightforward manner. And the last thing you do is acknowledge their effort again. If you criticize people, sometimes it could also mean that you are very impartial. It could be that you have certain things against them. That's why you'll be criticizing people. So make sure that you do not criticize other people just because you dislike them. Don't criticize people just because you do not like their faces. Don't criticize people because they are partnering with other people that you don't want them to partner with, or they belong to some parties and some groups that you don't want them to belong to. Ensure that when you're giving criticism, it is something that is based on logic. That is why you are criticizing people. So if you're one that has been known to have critical mindset, please try as much as possible to begin to criticize constructively. Let people see the need for that criticism so that they don't feel that what you are attacking is their personality and not helping them to become better. Thank you for listening. Please head on now to youtube.com/Fola Daniel Speaks.